Hey there, my friends. This is Bill MacDonald, the Common Sense Math Doctor, and today I want to share one third grade problem with you. There's a whole bunch of reasons why students struggle in school in any subject. One of them is their reading ability. And this past year and a half has caused more gaps than ever before, which we saw on this past year's results. When I compared the third through ninth grade math scores, ninth grade being algebra this year, I noticed that they were the lowest scores. I think it was 6 or 7 out of the lowest 10 scores in terms of the percentage of questions that less than 60% of the kids in Texas got. Because I feel like when you look at a question, if more than 60% of the kids got that question correct, then it just might have been taught really well, and the way it was tested was similar to the way that it was taught. But if less than 60% of the students get a question right, we need to look very closely at how was the question tested compared to the way that we taught it, and what were some of the situations. And I want to tell you that some of your kids do really well. And I'm going to call those kids GT, gifted talkers. The reason that some kids struggle is they're not GT, they're ET. They're not aliens, extraterrestrials. They need to see extra time or extra times to do something to practice a skill until they get good at it. So this skill that we're going to look at today, regardless of what state that you teach math in, has to do with perimeter, understanding what it means, and how to find missing parts if the perimeter is given. So people will ask me, Bill, do you think we should read the entire problem starting with the problem? I'm like, yes, P problem comes before Q question in the alphabet, but the question is based on, the TEK is based on the question in Texas and in most states. The question has the skill, they're testing the skill based on the question, not necessarily the information given. And so if your students have to read the entire problem in order from problem through the question, that's called a paragraph. And one of the reasons why kids struggle is because they're not good readers. So number one, start by reading the question. Number two, silence is deadly in a classroom of auditory learners. If you allow your students to test silently as a class and in groups and partners and solos, if you're allowed to get away with not opening your mouth, it means you're not going to hear anything. You won't be listening to anything, and nothing will click here in your brain if you're an auditory learner. So that's the second reason why I feel that so many kids are struggling with math. The third reason has to do with something outside of math and outside of any subject. I'm going to call it keywords. And I wear this necklace with these keywords on it. And these keywords, let me get it where I can read it well, say joy, love, faith, and hope. And so if any of those keywords are missing in your students' lives, sometimes the academics are going to be secondary to your students compared to these missing gaps. And so if that's your problem, I want you to type the words on Facebook, how to turn their horns to halos, and you can join my group of motivating and managing students, because you can have the best curriculum under the sun, but if you don't have students who you're able to build a relationship with, then they're not going to care how relevant or how rigorous that question is. If you can't teach character to students and get them to understand the importance of giving effort, you're not going to be able to have them care about the content that you're giving them in the subject or the curriculum. And so I highly suggest that you join my club, How to Turn Their Horns to Halos. I'm going to finish the book uh, this year, so that those of you who are needing a lot of ideas outside the content and the curriculum are going to be able to be helped. Another thing is, and I'm just going to be honest, I feel like some of the curriculums out there have too many gaps themselves. And so you could be a really great teacher, but if you're limited to one curriculum, one method of teaching a math skill, that would be like a doctor who's only allowed to use one prescription with all of his patients, even though there's a lot of different circumstances that the students might have that are preventing them from learning. We need to be able to differentiate our instruction. And so what I'm going to suggest to you is that you become part of my math club this year. I'm going to, for the rest of today and for this week, I'm going to do the most difficult problem in third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth grade math a way that I would teach it. And some of you are saying, well, I thought you were Bill MacDonald, the writing doctor. Yes, I am, but I'm a math minor, and I'm certified to teach math from elementary all the way up to eighth grade. And I know that I can handle the ninth grade questions as well. But when you get to the eighth and ninth grade, I'm just going to be very real again. Too much reliance is given to a calculator too early on in the year. And if you spend too much time on the calculator now, you're going to get caca later. In other words, your kids are not even going to be able to do paper and pencil computations, which is one reason why so many scores. Now, the last reason that math scores are so low, especially 3 or 4 of them, is because the response is a grid response, not a multiple choice. So we live in an open-ended world until we get into the classroom where it becomes multiple choice. And a lot of teachers are really frustrated about this transition to short answer, extended response, multiple responses, essay responses. Well, I'm going to have to agree with the state here, because when I look at the math scores, without exception, every single year, the grid responses, the open-ended ones, are the ones with the lowest score. We're going to look at the lowest question in third grade and then the lowest question in fourth grade, and you're going to notice they were both open-ended questions. So we're going to have to teach kids to start ignoring the answer choices, working out the problem even when the answers are there, and then going to the answers and comparing one by one which answer choice is the same as what I have. So before we get into the question we're going to look at, I want to show you from the state, just so you can see with your eyes and not rely on what I'm telling you. For this past spring in May, in both reading and math, all of these pink highlights are the questions that less than 60% of the students in Texas got correct. And this says statewide. It's not a district, it's not a campus. This is statewide averages. So I've already done the 3 most difficult questions in reading for both 3rd and 4th grade in English and 3rd grade reading and Spanish. So if you go to my ELAR Right Prescription group, you'll be able to, if you're a classroom self-contained teacher, then you're going to want to be able to join my ELAR group and my Common Sense Math. So I'm going to go ahead and write out here what words you would type. Common Sense Math. Now, even if you have some friends who don't have Facebook for whatever reasons, for personal reasons, I'm going to first post all of my videos to YouTube. So what you can do is while you're in the YouTube version of the video, copy the link and paste it to your friends in an email so that they can see some of these strategies. If you're a teacher and you want your principal or your math coordinator to see some of these strategies, then I think it would help, because as you can see in the reading, 14 out of the 34 questions, 41% of the questions had less than 60% of the kids get them correct. In math, 14 out of the 32 questions, 44% had less than 60% get them correct. And so then we're going to look at these little crosses here, number 5, number 14, and number 24. Number 5 did pretty well. Number 14, that's a 52. I need to highlight that. So that means 15 out of 30. I didn't even notice that. But the one that did the lowest in 3rd grade is number 24, only 16%. I better put on my glasses because I'm having a hard time seeing the numbers. Only 16% of the students in 3rd grade got this question correct. So what do we do about that? Well, first, we need to have an organized system with which your students do each math problem. You have to have a set of rules in place. And I don't want to offend anyone, but many of you use an incomplete acronym called CUBES for math, where the first step is to circle. Well, I'm an auditory learner and a visual learner. So yes, you can be circling, but unless we read the question and the problem solo, softly in a testing situation or with a partner, and loudly in a group or in the class situation, what's going to happen is we're going to see the problem, but we're never going to say it out loud. We're never going to say the question. We won't be hearing anything that will trigger our brain to say something or to do something if we're kinesthetic learners, and we won't be able to write the right answer. So I'm going to beg you to switch from cubes to rules. Step 2, underline and understand the keywords in the question. Because sometimes if all I know are the keywords, and yes, there are some educators who will say that you should never rely on keywords. Well, with the scores as low as they are, if they were telling you that, then they were wrong. We sometimes have to go past the paragraph called the entire problem to just the question, and sometimes just to the keywords, so that we can get pointed like a compass in the correct direction. So we're going to look for and label those keywords and numbers that will help you solve the problem. We'll begin to evaluate the E so that we can make a plan Once we've decided which plan we're going to do, we're going to execute our strategies, not ugly. Then before we start working out the problem, we're going to eliminate any extra information with a tiny little X in case we need to bring that information back. Then we'll eliminate and explain the wrong answers after you've executed. Then you'll select the correct answer in the book, search for errors in case you made one, work backwards to double check. And then if you're doing the Scantron, always keep in mind, apologize for the light on the screen there. Remember that on multiple choice, there's one vowel in the word odd and 3 letters. And then you skip count from there, and all odd on paper tests will be A, B, C, D. Even has 2 vowels, E, and 4 letters, E, B, E, N. Then you skip count from there. And so all of those will have F, G, H, or J. But the problem with this question we're going to look at was that it was a grid response. So without further ado, let's take a look at question number 24. And if you don't have the test in front of you, I suggest that you stop the video right now. Go ahead and go to the STAAR Resources at the Texas Education Agency. Click on Released Test Questions, and you'll be able to see all of the grade levels from the year 2021 in all of the subjects, and either look at it on your computer or print it out if you have access to a printer. This question number 31, what is readiness, category number 3, student expectation 3.7b. And it had to do with perimeter. And I honestly feel that the reason that the score was the lowest it was not because kids didn't understand perimeter. It's the answer they came up with. They weren't able to check it because it was a grid response. So let me go ahead and read the question first as my suggestion. What is the length of the floor of Mr. Brand's cabin in feet? Okay, well, I see the width, and if we've been taught accurately, we know that in a rectangle, the opposite sides of a rectangle are the same length. Well, I've got 10, and I've got 10 on the opposite side. So let me go look at the problem and see if anything else can help me. The perimeter, add up all sides of the rectangular floor of Mr. Brand's cabin is 46 feet. So I'm going to put 46 feet inside, so I know that that's the sum of all the sides of this rectangle. So the width of the floor is 10 feet, which was already told to us. So I want to show you a little rhyming or another trick you can add besides perimeter, add up all sides. We can say length, width, perimeter. So when you add up the 2 lengths of a square or a rectangle with the 2 widths of that square or the rectangle, and put the correct keywords, feet and feet, since we know that the perimeter, add up all sides, is 46 feet, all your students had to do was subtract some of the sides that were given to find out the 2 sides that were missing. So let me show you inside my mathematics chart. There's a section that allows your students to use keywords, and since the keywords are the same, feet, and we need a smaller number because we know that the perimeter is the biggest number, the total length, we need a smaller number. So what do we do? Uh, how much left? Take away, you subtract, because we're trying to find the difference. So what I've done for you is I've gone to my place value portion of my mathematics chart so we can organize, so we can execute instead of X ugly, so that our ones are all in a line and our tens are all in a line. So what we know so far is that we had 46, okay? And I left off the keywords on purpose. You can say, okay, well, 46 feet is the perimeter when I add up all sides. If I take away the 10 from the width and 10 more feet from the opposite width, I'm going to have 20 feet. Okay. So if we take away, that is difference. And if you watch me on the screen, you subtract. So what we're going to find out is that take away 0 from 6, or 6 minus 0, you get 6. Take away 2 from 4, or 4 minus 2, and you get 2. So there's 26 feet. So as a reminder, I went ahead and left the second column open so that we can remind ourselves that 46 feet was the total. We had 10 feet on the width, 10 feet on the length. So that means that 26 feet that's left has to be divided, because we don't want the lengths, the total, we want the length, singular, of one of these sides. And so that means since we have 26 feet and each side is divided, we're going to divide the two sides, we're going to divide the total feet that we have left by the two sides that are missing. We're going to be able to find out what we can do. And I want to show you, let me see if I can pause the video for a second. Okay, sorry, I went away there. I'm not sure if it had my whole video paused, but it doesn't matter. What I want to show you is a lot of kids struggle with division. And so because this question involved the second step, then the second step was saying, I've got to take that, I've got to take that 26 feet and divide it into 2 equal parts so that I can find out how many feet are going to be on each side. So the word side and the word feet are different. And so how many feet are on this side? How many feet are on this side? Each side, because those keywords are different. When you look down here on the bottom of the chart, if the keywords are different, we would multiply or divide. And in this case, how many are on each side? Each is in the question. And so one of the clues that you can use is Do I need to divide if I find the word each in the question? The reason the question mark is there is because it doesn't always work. But in this case, we do. So we're looking. So I want you to take a look and let's do some TMI. Normally, TMI is too much information, but I want to do a teachable moment of instruction. If your kids struggle with proper fractions or improper fractions when we're dividing, it'll be called a teachable moment of intervention. So we have this numerator with 26 and the denominator with 2. So let me look at my division section so we can learn about a couple of things. Here we have improper fraction. That's where the larger numbers on top, that's what we saw. A proper fraction has the larger number on the bottom, okay? Well, we're gonna have to divide these two numbers. And so the dividend is gonna be the top number in the fraction. It goes in the long division box. So dividend goes in. Divisor is the bottom number of the fraction, the denominator, numerator, denominator, okay? So we're going to put that at the bottom, and that's going to go to the left of the long division box. So when I show that to you, dividend, numerator, dividend goes in, divisor goes out. And the reason I paused the screen sharing was so that I could get my little chart. I have a little mini book of mathematics posters that help students who struggle with different areas, and one of them is division. So this is what I went to go get while I paused. And the reason that my Ma's red, it says, Mom, I failed division again. 5 easy steps to dividing numbers. And as you can see, the little boy in the picture got an F in division. And so Ma's red is just my way of helping students who struggle with division by multiplying something until you get an answer that you're looking for. Then you subtract, you find your remainder, the number that's left, and you'll either drop and go back to the top or you'll be done. So that's what MUSRED stands for. So let's put it into practice. We're going to multiply something by 2 until we get to 2 or more. So on the bottom, what I do is I say 2 times the lowest number I could multiply it by 0. The answer would be 0, the product. I didn't get to 2 or higher yet, so I'm going to keep going. 2 times 1 is 2. So once I get to the number or higher, I can stop. And so here's the cool thing about what you multiply in the answer. What you multiply goes on the top, and the answer goes on the bottom, the same way you see it here. Answer. Then the third step is let's subtract. Subtract 2 from 2. Your remainder, RE, is 0. So do we drop and go back to the top, or are we done? Since there's still a 6 sitting there, we're going to have to go back to the top and say, what could I multiply now by 2 so that I can get to 6 or higher? Well, I've already done the first 2, so we're going to go to the next 2. 2 times 2, what I multiplied, the answer is 4. And 2 times 3, the answer is 6. So there I've gone to the answer I'm looking for or higher. What you multiply goes on top, the 3. The answer goes on the bottom, the 6. So I will put my second check mark. Then when I subtract 6 from 6, or 6 minus 6, I get a remainder. RE is that set of 2 letters of 0. and then I'm going to be done because there are no letters left to drop. So what we said that the question wanted to know the length. So since both lengths, if two lengths are 26 feet, then the one length is going to be half of that, which would be 13 feet. And we don't have anything to pick from. And so what I like about my mathematics chart is it allows your students to practice A, B, C, D, or F, E, G, H, J, or we can practice the response. So 13 feet is a 1 in the tens place and a 3 in the ones place. And then if you notice, there's a little decimal there. So it's either 13, or you can show your kids that when you open up the mathematics chart, it's 13 and nothing else. So 13 is the answer, or 13.0, or 13 and 0 what? Well, if I say the number 0, I can say where it's parked. It's parked in the tenths place. It could be 13 and 0 hundredths. If that was money, that would be $13. Okay, but we're talking about feet. So the length of each side, the side that was missing is 13. So I would check my work by going back to my length, width, perimeter. Length, or length, width, perimeter, add up all sides. So if I take the 13 that we think is correct and add it to the 13 that would be the opposite side, 13 plus 13 is 26, plus 10 feet is 36, plus 10 feet is 46. So 46 feet does equal 46 feet. So we can say with confidence that the length of the floor of Mr. Brand's cabin is 13 feet. So what does this say? That apparently the kids don't know that if the perimeter is given, you don't add, you subtract the missing side or sides. So I would just suggest that you plug in some other numbers and do extra time, assign another perimeter total to a square or a rectangle. Better yet, a rectangle, so that you have opposite sides that are different, and have your kids practice the concept of length, width, perimeter. So that's how I would suggest that you do question number 24. Once your students see the word perimeter, they're going to say add up all sides. But when they see the word is 46, they're going to know, oh, I have to do the opposite of addition, which would be subtraction. So addition, plus, add, subtraction, minus. Look at my, say 3 words exactly correctly. Subtraction, difference minus, and that's a little bit of my karate math that I teach. So that was just one question. And so, yes, that took a while, but if you have your kids practice perimeter being given and them just trying to find the different sides that are missing by subtracting, they'll get better at this. And so each year I make questions similar to the ones from the test. And so I've done that for 2019, 18, 17, 16. I basically take the 10 to 25 most difficult questions from each year and I make my own tests because sometimes your kid just need extra practice. Do me a favor and share this math video with your math teacher friends. Uh, Tag somebody on here. If they don't have Facebook, go ahead and copy and paste the link while you're in the YouTube portion of it, and you can send it to your friends or your administrators as an email. Look forward to see you guys soon. I am willing to do questions out of order or out of grades. If you message me with a question number from 3rd through 9th grade, you take that time to do that, and you want a way that's maybe a little bit different, you might know how to solve the question yourself, the problem, but you might want to see if I have a different way. I'd be willing, as long as you message me or email me, I will go ahead and do a video for that question specifically because you took the time in my messenger or as an email. My email is the word writing underscore underline doctor spelled out at yahoo.com. And a lot of you already have my mathematics chart, but I want to just show you that real quick. If you have that already, you have my email right there on the corner of the chart. It says writing underscore doctor at yahoo.com. Just email me and I can work on whichever math question that you feel like you're struggling with the way to teach it, anywhere from 3rd through 9th grade. And it doesn't even have to be from the 2021 test. I've done all of the most difficult questions ever since the STAAR has started. So I'd be able to handle or share with you a way. And so common sense math, the reason I came up with that name is using your senses, your ability to see and say and kinesthetically make the problem come to life by doing certain things with your body that will help you remember skills, not until you get out of that classroom or until the next day, but for a lifetime. So let's use common sense and add common sense to your math toolbox, teacher friends. God bless and have a great day.